Hi everyone, I'm Steve with storEDGE, and we're going to go ahead and get started with the webinar that we're going through today. So real quick today, what we're going to do is going to take a look at some of the things that we need to look at in terms of SEO for your website, and then we're actually going to run through an actual website and see exactly what we're talking about. So first of all, I want to thank everybody that's here, and I also want to thank everybody that offered their website for us to dissect here on this webinar. I know you guys will probably have some questions during the webinar, so go ahead and ask them, and then when we have time at the end, we'll get through as many of those as possible. So real quick, what we're going to do is, before actually jumping in, I want to take a step back and take a look at the thousand-foot view of SEO and what we're talking about. So when we talk about SEO, what does SEO mean? Well, it stands for Search Engine Optimization. And essentially what it is just doing the right things for your website to make sure that you're showing up properly in the search engines and people can find you because you offer a great product or a great service. So how I always like to describe Google, because essentially that's what everybody searches on these days. Google is the main search engine. A lot of people use them for search. And essentially that's what we're trying to target most of the time when we're talking about SEO. So how I like to describe Google is that they're sort of like a library. So essentially they've crawled the entire web and they've got all these websites and they've indexed them. So their job is when somebody goes to them and says, hey, I'm looking for information on, say, self-storage in our case. What do you have for me? And Google looks through their index of just websites and they say, you know what, this website is relevant to what you're searching on, and so is this one. So when we look at that, I always like to tell people, don't just think about your website and what you're trying to accomplish, but think about, what Google's trying to accomplish, and also think about your customers at the end of the day. So if they're able to find your website, are they finding good, valuable content? When Google shows your website for those people that are searching, are they getting good, valuable content? If they are, then you're doing the right thing. So again, Google is in the business of search. They aim to deliver the best results for their customers. So when we jump in and we're looking at the SEO for the websites, these are the three categories that we're going to take a quick look at. We're going to look at on-page analysis and site architecture. We're going to take a look at local maps, and we're going to take a look at link building. So what does that all mean? So when we talk about on-page analysis and site architecture, we're going to touch briefly on good design and conversion, just because I think that's a really important aspect to also cover, at least at a very basic level. Because essentially, number one, you do want people to find you, but after they find you, you want to make sure that you're doing the right things to convert them over into doing an action so that you gain a new customer. The other thing that we're going to take a look at are the tags that you use on your website. So we're going to get a little bit geeky here, and we're going to look at some of the code. It won't be that scary. I'll walk you through it. You don't need to know exactly what's going on there, but I'll show you a couple things that you can look out for your website. We're going to take a look and talk a little bit more about content, and then I'm going to show you an easy way to sort of diagnose how your website is doing. The second part is local maps. So local maps are very important in this day and age. Essentially, especially in the self-storage industry, a lot of people, when they're doing a search for self-storage, they're looking for local results. So they'll be looking at that map pack. And so the couple things that we're going to dive into here real quick before going through the website is, number one, SERP. So what does SERP stand for? It stands for Search Engine Results Page. It's essentially whenever somebody does a search and the results that come up, how is that broken out? What sort of results are on that page? I want to help you guys better understand what's going on there so you can better understand how to do certain enhancements for your sites to show up in those certain areas. Second thing I want to talk about is claiming your listing. So we're going to walk through that a little bit, and I'm going to tell you what you need to do to claim your listing. Most of you have probably already claimed your listing, but if not, I'll show you what you need to do and where you can find that information. Third thing here is name, address, and phone number. So in terms of local rankings, a lot of it has to do with the consistency of your data all across the web. When Google goes and they crawl the entire internet, they're going to look for instances of your business name and your address and your phone number. And what they're looking for is consistent information all across the web so that they trust the information that's out there and they'll rank you a little bit higher. Other things that we'll talk about in terms of ranking factors are reviews and citations. So reviews is self-explanatory. That's essentially, like somebody had a positive experience and they left you a review just stating and talking about their positive experiences with you. Second thing is citations. So what are citations? Well, citations are essentially, again, when Google crawls the web, when they find a website that talks about your business name or your address and your phone number, that's a citation. So the more citations that you have with that consistent data, the better it is. So when we talk about the search engine results page, this is a normal result that you would see when somebody does a search. So in this instance, self-storage, Syracuse, New York. So what consists of this SERP page? Well, up top here in this highlighted yellow area is the PPC, and over here is the PPC, which stands for pay-per-click. People have to pay to get in those ad spots, and those can be pretty expensive. Sometimes they run $6, $7, $8 per click, depending on the market that you're in. So it may get you, at least temporarily showing on the first page, but it may not be the best return for the value that you're getting. The other things I'm going to take a look at here are, right here up top are some organic results. And the main thing that we really wanted to focus in on was this right here, the map pack. So essentially Google has said, hey, if you're searching for self-storage in Syracuse, New York, these are the local businesses that are relevant to your search. And then again, when we were talking about citations, this is sort of the local search ecosystem. So if you're ever working with an SEO company or have questions, a lot of this data gets transferred between these different websites and these different companies. So again, you want to make sure your data is consistent. It can be a lot to manage, but there are tools out there. So when you're talking to any SEO company, make sure that they're taking a look at this and making sure that you have consistent information all across the web. And then the last thing is link building. So how I like to describe it is that, if you have website A and you have website B, and they both do a great job in putting in content and building the site the right way, how does Google determine which site to show first, or what even deserves to be ranked on that first page? Well, one of the big factors is linking. So when I talk about linking, what I'm talking about is, say, let's say there's a packaging company that also uses a self-storage facility, and they say, hey, you know what? I know this location. I use this self-storage facility, and it's a great facility. The people are great. I want my customers to know about it because if they ever want to have a positive experience, they should go here. So somewhere on their own website, they say, check out self-storage facility A, and they have a link there. When somebody clicks it, it goes to website A's home website. Well, when Google crawls the web, they'll see that link back to website A, and they'll say, oh, that's an endorsement for this website. There must be great content here. Therefore, we should show these results and search when somebody does a search. So essentially, that's what it is. I'm going to show you a tool so that you can check your search results and also your link profile, and also kind of see how your competitors are doing in that same space. So with that, we're going to jump into an SEO audit. We're going to take a look at Store More, Pay Less. I think it was Michael Wagner that submitted this, so thank you very much for submitting your site. I'm going to go ahead and take a look into it right now. So a couple quick things before diving straight into the SEO part is that on here, when I first went to the website, there was a pop-up that came up. And then just some quick information on pop-ups. sort of like a catch-22, because essentially, people don't really like to be bothered with pop-ups, and then most of the time browsers have, tools that they build in, plugins that they build in to automatically block pop-ups. So really, you don't want to nuisance your customer because they might bounce away from the website. So if you do any sort of pop-up, you want to make sure it's important information. However, at the same time, because most people block pop-ups, if you put important relevant information in there, a lot of people might not see it. So in general, what I usually recommend is don't use pop-ups. If you have good relevant information, make sure it shows up on the page and the search for people so that they don't miss something or maybe just click and close it without even reading it. Next quick thing I want to touch on in terms of design is we took a look at the website, and I want you guys to know that most of the time when people are browsing a website, they're going to browse in an F shape. So what that means is they're going to start over here at the top left, and they're going to scan over to the right. Then they're going to scan down, and they're going to scan a little bit more, and then they're going to scan all the way to the bottom. So they don't spend a lot of time anywhere here. So what you really want to do is make sure you have your calls to action and your relevant information somewhere easily for them to see. And what we've seen most of the time, especially in our industry, is that people really want to pick up the phone and call somebody because they want to know who they're talking to. They want to know what sort of people they'll be working with if they get a storage unit at a particular location. So again, right here, the phone number is here, which is good. And it's all across the website, which is also good with that consistency. But maybe we want to put that phone number a little bit more to the top left. So with that, that's all I really want to cover in terms of some of the design aspects for a website. When we're actually looking at the website, here, one of the easiest things and the first things that I like to look at is this thing of www versus non-www. So if you look in the URL section right here, I have www.storemorepayless.com. Well, what happens if I just copy storemorepayless.com and go to that website again? Well, it also serves me up the web page. It's the exact same page. The URL, however, does not change. And the reason why I bring this up is that it used to be a bigger deal when Google, when they saw this, they would treat these two things as separate entities. And what would end up happening is that there would be a duplicate content penalty because it wasn't redirecting, and they saw these two as completely separate entities. Google has become a lot better about detecting, a non-www website from a www website, but the issue that still arises is with your link profile and your link building. So like, let's say that you're really doing a good job in terms of reaching out to your community and having them send you links because essentially you provide a good service for the community. Well, what's going to end up happening is when people type in the web address, it's really just a preference. Some people will type in www and some people will not. So when they go and they put a link to your website, you're going to have people that are using this www form and people that are not using that www. So what ends up happening is you split your linking efforts because, again, Google sees these as two separate entities. So in a way, you're harming yourself because you're not building a consistent website all across for people that experience the same thing. So what are the two things that you can do? Well, number one, I would recommend consolidating it and having it either have everything redirect to your www domain version or redirect to your non-www version. The other thing that I would also do is I would make sure that you also set yourself up with Google Webmaster, and in there they have a setting where you can set your preferred domain to either be that www version or that non-www version. So again, those are the two ways that you would resolve that, and that'll help you out in the future and prevent any of these link splitting issues that may arise down the road. Now, if you're curious as to who may do this, well, everybody that is focused in on this really does do it. The easiest example and one of the main examples that you can see is if you go to google.com. Here I'm just going to type in google.com and I'm not going to type in www. What happens after I press enter? It redirects. So it's https://www.google.com. So when you're talking to your webmaster, whoever developed your website, make sure they're doing that for you, because that's a big thing. You don't want to split your efforts. Now when we go back and we look at the site, there's a lot of content here, there's some pictures, there's a map there, and there's a logo up there as well. This is what people see, but this isn't, again, what Google or the other different crawlers or search engines actually see when they come to their site. They don't see all these attractive pictures, they don't see, you know, the map or any other flashy things that you might do on your site. What they really see is the code that builds the website. So when we're talking about that, right now I'm in Google Chrome, and you should be able to do this with any other browser that you may use. But essentially you can actually see the code that the search engine sees, that the crawler sees when they come to your website. For me, I know that with Google Chrome, the shortcut to be able to do that is Control+U. So what happens when I do that, when I hit Control+U, I get to see all the code that the search engine see when they're crawling your site, and see how those pictures are made and how that content is structured. So in here is a lot of stuff, and you don't necessarily need to know everything that's going on here. It's a little bit scary, but I wanted to show you a couple things to really focus in on while you're looking at your site. Some things that are really easily fixable, and things that you can bring up to your webmaster and just work through. And they're less technical, but it does require some digging about a little bit in the code. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search for the title tag. So I'm going to hit, while I'm in here, I'm going to hit Control+F, and I'm going to go ahead and type in title. And right there, I find this title tag. So there's an open bracket here, and then a greater than and less than symbol with the title. So in here, that's what you want to look for. So you only have one title tag per page. You absolutely have to have a title tag. If you don't, you're making a big mistake with your site, and everybody does build a title tag. Usually, even if they don't know SEO, they put in a title tag. So whoever you're working with, make sure you only have one title tag, and then take a look at the content inside of the title tag. So when I'm reading through this, I can see that the title says self-storage dash Syracuse's #1 company offers affordable self-storage. Now, this isn't the worst title tag that I've seen. I actually think it's not bad, because in here you have key terms that people are going to search on. You have self-storage, you have the area, Syracuse, and then you also have another key phrase in here, affordable self-storage. Now, the one thing that I will say is that there's no mention of the actual business name in here, and that's something that I would add maybe onto the end of the title, just so that people know, or the web crawlers know, that, hey, this is a website or a web page for storemorepayless.com. Other things to be aware of when we're looking at the title tag is that we're looking at the code for just the home page. So each page on your website is going to have code custom to its page. So on each page, you're going to have a title tag. You want to make sure that your title tag is unique on every single page, because, again, that's an indicator to Google that says, hey, this is what this page is about. This is what the content on this page is going to be about. So your whole website isn't going to have the exact same content. So you want to make sure that it's unique and it's geared towards the content on that page. The other thing that we're going to take a quick look at is your meta description. So in here, again, I'm going to do the lesson sign, and then I'm going to do meta, and I'm just going to do a search. So if you don't have a meta description, that's something that you want to talk, again, to your developer about, is you want to make sure that you have a meta description. Now, it doesn't necessarily have any SEO strength to it, but it does have a lot of conversion value to it. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean very shortly here. So in the meta description, the content, it says, I'm reading right here, store more, pay less, self-storage offers an easy and convenient place to store your belongings. We are just around the corner and have the lowest prices in town. So on that, I actually think that's a really good description. If I was somebody that was looking for storage in that area and I read that, I would go, oh, that's something that I want to read a little bit more of. The only thing here is that belongings is misspelled, and so you probably want to update that and have that spelled right. So I told you that doesn't have very much SEO value. So Steve, what are you telling me? Why do I need to have this? Well, let's go ahead and do a search for self-storage. So we'll look self-storage, Syracuse, New York. So in the organic results here, what I'm talking about here is you can see right here the second result from U-Haul. Rent self-storage units in Syracuse, New York for low-cost storage unit prices. U-Haul Moving and Storage in Midtown is a clean self-storage facility offering mini storage. And then there's an ellipsis. That is your meta description for your page. People, when they do a search, they're going to see your title and they're going to see your description, and most people are going to scan through. So that's why you want to make sure you write it for human beings. If you're writing it for robots, number one, the search engines all tell you don't write content for us, write content for people. So, it's going to look like spam if you just make it for robots. You just repeat self-storage Syracuse, New York over and over and over and over. And people most likely to scan through and they go, hey, this probably isn't going to be one of the results I want to click in on. Now, what's kind of cool is that you can see right here my search query, my search term was self-storage Syracuse, New York. Well, if you take a look here, it's very subtle, and I don't know how many people actually notice this, but Google will actually bold the words that you search on. So in this case, self-storage, they bolded, Syracuse, they bolded, and New York, they bolded. So they'll also do that in your meta description. So that's why you want to make sure that you have some keywords in there as well, because again, that's something very subtle that people may pick up on and not even realize it. So it's good to make sure that you write it for humans and you have some keywords in there. Now, the other thing I'm going to talk about real quick is, since it's here, some of you guys may have this, some of you guys may not, but there's this also meta name equals keywords. And in here, there's indoor storage, outdoor storage, boat storage, RV storage, cheap storage, and then all these other cities or suburbs that they service as well. Now, the keywords used to be an indicator to Google about what the page and what the site is about, but they stopped using that as an indicator. Well, why is that? Because essentially what they realized is that a lot of SEO professionals started spamming that with all these keywords. So when we look at that, I'll just take, for example, RV storage, and we go to the site. So this is the code behind this page, this home page. And when I actually read through the content, it doesn't really say anything about RV storage. So what ends up happening is, if Google were to serve up this page, this result, if somebody searched for RV storage Syracuse, New York, and somebody clicked in, they would say, hey, I don't actually see any content about RV storage on here. This isn't what I'm looking for. I'm going to leave this page. I'm going to go to the next result. Now imagine if there are a whole bunch of people just stuffing that made a keywords list with all these things that they want to show up on, and on the site they didn't actually have that content, or on that specific page they didn't have any of that content. Well, all these people that are using Google and getting these results and clicking through on them, not finding what they're finding, they're going to say, you know what, Google isn't a very good search engine. I wasn't able to find the information that I wanted to find, therefore I'm going to go use somebody else, and then Google loses their customer. So again, that's why they don't use it. Now, I can see from that keyword, that's probably an important key term for this location. They probably offer RV storage and do a great job on it. So what they want to do is make sure that if they are mentioning RV storage on a particular page, that they actually have content on there to highlight that. Now, the other thing that we're going to take a quick look at is header tags. So header tags are the same as the lesson, and then I'm going to do Control F. I'm going to do a search for lesson H1. So that H1 is an abbreviation for a header tag. So if you imagine I talked about the title tag, well, the header tag, just think of it sort of like an article. So in your article, you have your title that highlights the main thing that you're about. Hey, we're about self-storage in Syracuse, New York. Well, your header tag is going to be like a subheading in the article. Maybe that's about, hey, RV storage in Syracuse, New York, and then you have content underneath it. So you want to make sure you use your headers because, again, those are indicators to Google about what your page is about, and it will make whatever is in your header tag a little bit more important. So again, you want to highlight keywords in your header tag and then also have content following those header tags about those things that you really want to highlight. Now with header tags, you just want to make sure you only use one H1 tag. So Google looks for one H1 tag, and that's important. You can use other header tags, it's just numbering down, H2, H3, H4, H5, etc. And you can use as many of those as you want, and Google treats those with way less emphasis. And again, that will just highlight the content that you really want to highlight. So with that, we kind of talked about, some of the tags you want to take a look at. the title tag, etc., the meta tags, and then also the header tags. Now, what I also want to show you is this command to check and see how well you're doing overall. And it's a great quick site analysis tool. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and copy that domain, www.storemorepayless.com. I'm going to go to Google. And when I go to Google, I'm going to type this command. And you can do this for any website. You can do this for your own website. I would highly recommend doing this just to see how you're doing. So if I type in site, S-I-T-E, colon, the domain, my domain, and I hit enter, what Google's going to do is they're going to show me a result of all the pages that they have indexed for my website. Now, why is this such a great tool? Because, you know, if you're looking through and you know that you have 20 pages and you know what, Google has only indexed 8 of them, that's a key indicator that tells me, hey, something is really wrong. Google should be able to find 20 of my pages, but they're only able to find 8 of them. So, I mean, that's especially important if you have multiple locations and you're going, hey, why is my facility over here not being indexed by Google? And that's a tool that can help you dig deeper and understand exactly what's going on. Excuse me. The vice versa is true as well. Say you have 20 pages and that you know about, and Google has over here indexed 120 pages. Well, the question is, where are they getting all this content? What's going on there? And what we've seen before is that, you know, when people have switched web developers, maybe their new developer didn't necessarily know or didn't do as good of a job there in terms of understanding what other pages the previous web developer built. So they'll have extra content there that's duplicating on the new content that they put up, number one. And number two, there might be links on there that go to who knows where. So that's what we've seen, and this is a great indicator to kind of see how your site is doing and check the health of it. The other thing that I can see right here is when we were talking about, in this particular case, with Store More, Pay Less, is that I mentioned that you want to have unique titles for all of your pages because you want to highlight different things on your site for Google to index. So when I look through, I can see, number one, on the domain, all the domains are storemorpayless.com /index1, /index2, /index3, /index4. So, you know, on the URL itself, and I didn't really jump into that. This is a little bit of a deeper, more technical conversation, but there's nothing to indicate what that URL is about. You know, it's not necessarily about RV storage. It's not about boat storage. You don't know. It's just index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, which is all very arbitrary. The other thing that I noticed is that all the titles are exactly the same. They go to different pages, but the titles are the same. So real quick, I can see if I'm doing a good job of varying my content and highlighting different things on my various pages. And then with that, we're going to move on from sort of the site architecture, evaluating the site itself, and talk a little bit more about local search. So again, when we were talking about local search, when I do self-storage Syracuse, New York, I was really talking about this section right here. So when we're looking at this section right here, Google, about like 3 or 4 years ago, figured out that, you know what, a lot of people, when they're doing a search, they're searching for local results. If somebody types in pizza, they're not looking for, you know, the definition of pizza most of the time. They're not trying to find out, you know, the history of pizza. What they're really trying to do is go, hey, I'm really hungry. I know there's a pizza joint near me. I want to find a local pizza joint. So that's what Google did, is that they tried to figure out, you know, when people were doing a local search result. So for example, in this case, we're doing Syracuse, New York, but if I just do self-storage, you know, they know I'm in Kansas City because they're able to look at my IP address, and they'll give me local results for Kansas City. So what does this mean? Well, there's, just like search engine optimization with your site, there's optimization for your local map listings as well. In fact, it's sort of combined these days. They look at the strength of your website, and then they also look at the strength of your map and combine that to determine where you're going to show up in that local map pack. So again, when we're looking here, we didn't see Store More, Pay Less. In fact, if you want to know where you are, because know where you are in terms of maps, the easy way to do that is just look for your location, and then also up here, go ahead and click on just maps. And that'll give you just only the map results that Google has found for that local area. So when I look at just the map results, we ended up finding Store More, Pay Less on the second page here as the e-balloon here. So I'm going to go ahead and click into it, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the local listing. So when we're looking at this local listing, it has pictures. I don't know if it's claimed or not. It's attractive. So what you do want to do is you want to put in the first thing that you want to do is claim it. So if this isn't claimed, you want to claim it. And if you haven't claimed your map listing, chances are that it's floating out there on the web somewhere, and you might not be aware of it. So the way that you find it is, again, you want to go to Google Maps, and you want to search for your business address with your business name and find your Google local listing. Once you find it and you click through to look at it, it will usually have on this right-hand side this question: is this your business? Manage this page. So that's the first thing that you want to do if you haven't claimed your map listing, is you want to go here and you want to go ahead and click on Manage this page. And they'll walk you through how to claim your listing so that nobody else can mess around with that listing, so that you have ownership of it. So usually what they do is they'll send either a postcard to you with a PIN code, or they'll call you with a PIN code, and that way you can verify your listing with Google. And that way you can start editing the information on this page. Now, in terms of what we're talking about a little bit more, NAP, I really harp on NAP, which stands for name, address, phone number. You want to make sure that's super consistent, because this is how it is. Google has, I don't know if you ever tried to contact Google, but they're not great in terms of support. Usually they have some form email. If you ever find a form to report a problem, they'll send you an email maybe like 2 or 3 weeks after you submitted something, and it'll be like from this address, no reply at google.com, saying like, hey, don't reply. So they're not very helpful in that sense. So what does that mean? That means they have all these algorithms that they put in their different ranking systems to try and account for 90–95% of everybody's needs. So what ends up happening is there's very little human interaction. And again, when you go back and you think about Google, what's their goal? Their goal is to give you good results, but also very accurate results. So if you're consistent all across the web is not the same, Google is going to find that information. They're going to find your business address with a different phone number, or they're going to find your business address with a different business name. And then you go, hey, I don't know which one is the right business name. I don't necessarily know which one is the right phone number. Therefore, I'm not going to rank them as high, because if a whole bunch of people call and the location is closed, location is changed, it's a completely different business, you're talking to someone on the phone, they don't know what you're talking about when you say store more, pay less, well, those people are going to leave because they get these bad results, and they go, I can't trust Google's results. So they're going to end up leaving. And so Google's whole point is, hey, I want to deliver consistent, quality, accurate information. So when I harp on that, what are some of the things that you can look at in terms of figuring out, hey, is everything right with my listing? Do I have old business names that are popping out somewhere? Well, one of the simplest and easiest ways to do that is to go ahead and copy your phone number. In here, there's 4 numbers for store more, pay less. Now, me personally, I don't know what they are. They could be different tracking lines, or they could be direct lines to other people inside the office. But one of the easiest ways to kind of check that out is to go ahead and copy that phone number and do a Google search. So when I do a Google search on that phone number, I can see these listings: store more, pay less in Syracuse, store more, pay less in Syracuse, store more. That's great. All the information is consistent, and if I were to click through, I'm sure the address would be the same and the business name would all be the same. So, what else could be possibly causing this listing not to show up quite as high as it could be? Well, I'm going to go ahead and look at these other phone numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this phone number. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in. And when I see it, there's this reference to Autumn Acres Self-Storage Incorporated in Syracuse. Now, with the Google listing, the listing says that the business name is Store More, Pay Less Self-Storage. But on the second phone number inside of the listing, when I paste that in, up comes Autumn Acres Self-Storage Incorporated in Syracuse, New York. So when I click through and I look at it, and trust me here, the address is the same. The phone number is the one in the listing, but the name is different. So one of the first things that I want to do is I want to go and I want to contact all these places that don't have my newest business name or the right business name, and get them to change that business name. And when Google calls that again, they'll go, oh, okay, I no longer see that discrepancy, so I can rank them a little bit higher. The other thing that I briefly mentioned were reviews. So reviews are always going to help. And Store More, Pay Less, you guys do a really good job here. You guys have 24 reviews. And then, the first one right here is excellent. So that's a good job. You're doing a good job of engaging your customers and getting them to leave you a review after they've had a positive experience. Now, the other thing that we brought up before was citations. So again, like when we're looking at this right here, this is actually a citation. It has the business name, it has the address, and it has the phone number, except the citation is wrong. So generally, when you look at it, the more citations that you have, it's more verification about your business information, the better it is. And you want to make sure that is as consistent as possible. Now, moving on beyond that, the last thing that I really want to cover was Open Site Explorer. So Open Site Explorer is a tool created by SEOmods.org. And if you have time and you're really interested in SEO, I would really highly recommend SEOmods.org. They're a great website. They have a great community. A lot of people go on there and ask questions, read about the latest trends in SEO, trends and changes, and that way it helps them figure out what they can do better for their website. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would absolutely say go check them out. Now, one of the tools that they built is called Open Site Explorer. So when I was talking about people crawling through, like Google crawling or Bing crawling and all these search engines crawling and digging through your website and looking at the code, well, they don't necessarily share all the information with you. So you don't necessarily know, hey, how am I doing in relation to everybody else? What exactly are my numbers? What are those different things that I can look at? Well, Open Site Explorer does the same thing. They crawl the web as they know it, and they try and emulate the things that Google would look for. So it gives you some things that you can check out here. And the main thing to really check out with Open Site Explorer is your link profile. And as I was saying, website A and website B, what's one of the big factors in determining if website A is better than website B? Well, one of the big factors is links. So this will help you kind of look at your own site and then look at your competitors. So when I go ahead and paste that, paste storemorepayless.com into Open Site Explorer and do a search, what it'll do is it'll show me all the relevant information that they found on the web for that website. So in here you can kind of see your domain authority, your page authority, your linking root domains, total links, Facebook shares, Facebook likes, tweets, Google +1. So that's sort of a deeper conversation, so I'm not going to jump too deep into like domain authority and page authority. What I'm really going to talk about is your link profile. And again, I said there's good links and there's bad links. This is where you can kind of see that differentiation. So if I were to look here, to be honest, storemorepayless.com, you guys could probably do a lot better in terms of getting links to go to your website, and that's another topic in and of itself. How do you get people to link to you? So it is a lot of work, but it will be worth it in the long run if you do it right. So when we look here, there's just one link going to storemmorepayless.com, only one linking domain and only one total link. So is this link a valuable resource for them? Well, the link that is coming from the other website, website C that links to website A here, their relative strength is pretty low as well. So they have a page authority of 19 or 18 and a domain authority of 19. So really, there's a lot of improvement that can be done here. And when you start building the right links, you will see the yield and you will see the results of improving in the search engine. Now, you don't want to game the system. You want to make sure that you build links in the right way. And when I talk about game the system, I'm jumping in a little bit deeper topic here as well. But it's not just about the raw numbers. So you'll have other SEO companies out there that will just say, hey, I'll get you 500 links in 2 months. Well, it's not about the 500 links. It's about building the right links. And that's something that Google has always been combating in terms of link profiles and link building companies because, again, they don't want somebody to just game the system and buy like 800 links and then all of a sudden they rank above better content and stuff that people aren't necessarily searching on. So if you have some time, also read up on the Penguin and the Panda update. Those are some of the updates that Google did to sort of combat that. And they sort of penalized companies and websites that were doing things that weren't above board, such as just buying a ton of links to go to a website. So again, the best way to build links is to build them within your community and also go to relevant websites where there could be a mutual benefit between the two of you because you're providing a good service or a good product that you find useful for whoever you're talking to. That's the main goal. And then, so with that, I've kind of wrapped it up. Just to review, the first thing we covered was site architecture, just taking a look at the code, and then also some of the things that help you diagnose how your site is doing. The second thing that we took a look at was the maps and just seeing what's going on there, what things do you need to look out for, and really harp in on that NAP phenomenon, the name, address, phone number consistency. And the last thing that we took a look at was the link building, just kind of taking a look at what is a good link, what do you need to do to build better links, and where do you need to go from there. So with that, what I want to do is I want to go to our Q&A section. And I know we were only able to get through one website here. There's a lot of data here. But we're always more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. So if you didn't submit your website and you do have questions, you want us to take a look at your website, please email us over at info@storageahead.com or go ahead and give us a call, and we can set something up just to run through your website, see how you're doing from an SEO standpoint. More than happy to offer that time. So we're just another resource in case you have questions. And with that, I kind of want to take a look at the questions and see what you guys have been asking, and hopefully answer a couple of those before we end this session here today. Well, it looks like we didn't have any questions. So again, if you do have questions that you come up with later on during the process or when you're thinking and you're looking at your site, you can always email us or give us a call. So again, thank you very much for spending some of your day with me. I really appreciate it, and I hope we were able to provide some value for you.